What is up, guys? It's Movie Buff Beth of the Movie Buff Pains, here again with another new video for you guys. Today I'm here to talk about a new VOD release that we saw this last weekend called The King of Staten Island, directed by Judd Apatow, starring Pete Davidson, Marisa Tomei, and Bill Burr. Now, real quick, I'll say right off the bat, I've always loved Judd Apatow's directed films. He's a great director, also a really prolific writer and producer. Surprisingly, he's only directed 6 films, even though, he's such a big name in comedy in Hollywood. But yeah, his latest film stars SNL star Pete Davidson, who you may either like or hate, depending on where you're at. But I will say after this film, you may feel differently about Pete Davidson. So I'm going to give my quick thoughts and a mini review of this film and whether or not you guys should check it out on VOD. It's $20 to rent right now, but of course, physical media could be down the line or a lower price. So I'll let you guys know what you guys should wait for. First of all, I want to say The King of Staten Island felt a lot more mature than Judd Apatow's previous directorial ventures. I feel like he took what he did well in some of his other films and kind of upped it. He always has great character development. His stories are sometimes a little overlong, but he creates such enjoyable worlds to be in that you almost don't mind. He's also really capable of pulling great performances out of actors that you maybe wouldn't have expected it, like he did with Amy Schumer in Trainwreck. But I can say I've thoroughly enjoyed every single one of Judd Apatow's directed films, and The King of Staten Island is no exception. Pete Davidson is really great here. This is actually a semi-autobiographical feature for him. His father, Scott Davidson, he unfortunately passed away in 9/11. He was a firefighter, and this movie is about the character Scott, who, he's a 24-year-old kid. He still lives at home with his mom, and he's kind of struggling with mental health and how to deal with the fact that he really misses his father, who was killed in a fire. And on the surface this sounds like a really basic story, but it has that Judd Apatow flair, that Judd Apatow touch that makes it really special. I really liked Marisa Tomei's performance here as his mother. At first she was almost unrecognizable to me, but yeah, she gave a great performance here, very believable. And then someone that really surprised me here was Bill Burr. I'd seen him, in bit parts here and there, but he was given the reins to be basically a main character of this film, and he's very pivotal to the Scott character's development. And yeah, he gave a great performance, some really funny moments. But yeah, overall, I would say this movie is not as funny as Judd Apatow's other films, but that's not to say that it's not a good film. Some of his other films are sometimes crude for the sake of being crude. I didn't at all see that here. Of course, it's not, a family film by any means, but it is a lot more heartfelt. Even though all of his films have a lot of heart, this one probably has the most. By the end, you're just really rooting for the character of Scott, and you really want something good to happen for him. And you don't have to have these incredible outlandish stories to make an interesting world and interesting characters. Judd Apatow is really good at creating characters that are just relatable and fun to watch, and that's definitely at play here. Again, he really pulls out Pete Davidson's acting chops. I saw him earlier this year in the Hulu original Big Time Adolescence, which is another one I recommend you check out. Definitely not as good as this film, but still worth watching. And yeah, Pete Davidson, you really feel for him, especially knowing that some of this was semi-autobiographical. Pete Davidson, he lives with borderline personality disorder, and he's been very open with his struggles and some of the difficulties he's gone through in life. And for that, I really respect him. And it was really nice seeing him be vulnerable, but also funny and just easy to relate to in this film. My only real complaints with this movie is it's a little slow to start. It takes a little bit before we jump into the story, and of course it's a little overlong. This is a problem with all of Judd Apatow's movies, but I kind of give him props for that. He doesn't shorten the movie for the studio or for the sake of being short. Like, he just tells his stories in the way that he wants to. So yeah, it's a little long. It comes in around 2 hours 15 minutes, but yeah, that would really be my only flaw with the film. I also really liked the supporting characters, his friends. We also have a great performance from Bel Pally. Just a great supporting cast, and just a really enjoyable, relatable film. I would definitely recommend checking this one out on VOD. If you've liked Judd Apatow's previous features, or you're interested in learning a little bit more about Pete Davidson, I would give it a definite check out this week. If you're a little more on the fence with Judd Apatow, I would definitely say, maybe wait a little while for this to get a little cheaper, wait for it to come out on physical media. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, even if you're a little bit on the fence. So before I leave you guys, I'm actually going to do a little bit of a ranking of Judd Apatow's directed filmography. And so there's a reason I haven't given you a rating out of 5 stars quite yet, because I want to wait till the end to show you, because I'm going to rank all of his films. So like I said, he's only directed 6 films, which again is a little surprising to me because, he's such a big name in Hollywood. But yeah, he's only directed 6 films. So starting at number 6, I have his 2009 feature, Funny People. This, of course, stars Seth Rogen, Adam Sandler, and his wife, Leslie Mann. Of all of his films, this is probably the only one that I don't love. I only like this one. I admittedly have only seen it one time, but it really just didn't leave that mark on me like some of his previous films had. And again, this one is just very overlong. There's even a director's cut included with this disc. The rated version is 2 hours 26, and the unrated is 2 hours 33. So yeah, he doesn't hold back in this film at all. But yeah, it's definitely due a rewatch. I do remember enjoying it, just it didn't quite have that charm that some of his other films have. But it did have some interesting characters. Definitely worth watching again. Based on that one watch, I'd probably give it between a 3 and 3.5 out of 5. I will say real quick, my ranking of his films may be a little bit controversial, but again, these are just my personal opinions, my personal rankings. Please let me know in the comments below how you would rank Judd Apatow's directed films. Now, these next 5 films, I will admit, I love all of these movies. I thoroughly enjoy all of them. Any given day, I probably could change the ranking up a little bit. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and start. Coming in at number 5 is 2007's Knocked Up. This stars Seth Rogen and Katherine Heigl, and also has a great supporting cast, including Paul Rudd, Leslie Mann, and Jason Segel. This is probably one of his more popular films, and I know a lot of people would probably rank this as his number 1 film, and again, I really love this movie. It's a lot of fun. This one also includes an unrated cut, which takes the runtime from 2 hours 9 minutes to 2 hours 13 minutes. So again, not a short comedy. A lot of comedies are more around the hour 30, hour 40 range. His are pretty much always at least 2 hours. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. It's got some really funny characters. This is kind of what threw Seth Rogen into the limelight, and we saw, he's got some great comedic chops. I know following the film's release, Katherine Heigl kind of made some mistakes in the way she talked about the film, and definitely offended Seth Rogen and Judd Apatow, but rightfully so. Like, they had a right to be offended. She did not appreciate what this film did for her career. But all of that aside, it is an enjoyable film, really funny, kind of a little bit more of some unrealistic scenarios, but also pretty relatable. And again, the supporting cast is what really shines here for me. I know, we gotta love Seth Rogen, we gotta love Katherine Heigl in this, but yeah, the supporting cast really shines. This one I would give a 4 out of 5. And going right along with that, the supporting cast, this is the sort of sequel to Knocked Up, and that is This Is 40. This goes into the characters of Leslie Mann and Paul Rudd, and kind of their life and their midlife stage of hitting 40. They got a couple of kids at home and how they're handling that, and kind of just the humor in that real life scenario. There's a lot of humor surrounding, like, what do we do at this point in our lives? We've met the person we want to marry, we've got a family, we've reached all of these goals, but where do we go from here? And I think that creates for a lot of really funny moments. And this isn't something that's addressed in comedy as much, and I think I appreciate that. And as all of you know, Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann are extremely likable. Leslie Mann, I think she's just so funny. I mean, she may have been cast in this because her husband is Judd Apatow, but that's okay. She's just so funny. I've always liked her. And you also, of course, have Jason Segel, Megan Fox, and a really funny part from Melissa McCarthy. But overall, this is just a really enjoyable film. And you also get to see Leslie and Judd's kids in this film, because both of their daughters play the daughters of Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann. So that's kind of fun. And yeah, this one I would give a 4 out of 5 as well. And I see that that's where it kind of gets controversial, because not as many people like this film. But again, I just love these characters, and I think this is a really fun film. Alright, next up is, of course, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. And yes, this is an HD DVD. I just really like this edition, so I had to show it to you guys. Really funny slipcover there. But anyways, this of course stars Steve Carell. This is what really kind of threw his career into high gear. I don't know that many people knew who he was before this movie. I could be wrong. But this is what really introduced me to Steve Carell. This is just a great movie. Again, a really solid supporting cast. You've got Seth Rogen and Paul Rudd and just some really great performances. And Steve Carell is very believable as this character. Again, this is a little bit more of an outlandish story from Judd Apatow, but again, really funny and really relatable at times. And some really good laugh out loud moments in this one for sure. And this is another one that I would give 4 out of 5. This next choice will, of course, give away what my #1 Judd Apatow film is. But coming in at #2 is Trainwreck, starring Amy Schumer and Bill Hader. This is another case where the lead actor is someone that isn't always likable. I know not very many people are huge fans of Amy Schumer, but I've talked to people about this film and they've said despite not liking Amy Schumer, they still enjoyed this film. I, on the other hand, really like Amy Schumer. I think she's funny and honest, and, you know, that doesn't always work for some people. You know, comedy is very divisive, so I understand not liking her or liking her. But again, I do like her. And this movie, he does a great job of, you know, humanizing his characters. You know, you sometimes think of people like Amy Schumer and you're just like, you know, they're just a comedian. There's not much depth to them. But, you know, this movie does a great job of humanizing her and humanizing her character. Kind of an unlikely pairing with Amy Schumer and Bill Hader, but they actually have some impeccable chemistry in this film. And, you know, this again is a more mature feature for Judd Apatow, I feel like. Of course, there's some really crude scenes in here. I mean, we pretty much start out with a sex scene with John Cena, which is really funny. But yeah, it's a really funny film, enjoyable, great chemistry between the two of them, and just a really cute love story. And this one, again, I would give a 4 out of 5. And of course, that means my #1 Judd Apatow film is The King of Staten Island. Again, I just really loved this movie. It was feel good, relatable, and just a fun story to see. And it was really nice to see Pete Davidson being a little more vulnerable. And again, there's lots of laugh out loud moments thanks to that Judd Apatow charm. And this movie, I give a 4.5 out of 5. Again, I really do enjoy all of Judd Apatow's features, and I just think he's a great director. You know, he's great balancing the comedy with the drama and just creating fun worlds to live in and to experience. Overall, really love Judd Apatow's filmography. I wish he made movies more often. I mean, Trainwreck was his last film, and that came out in 2015. But again, he's very busy, you know, with family, and he's a great producer, great writer. So yeah, he's very busy in the world of comedy, so that's understandable. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different, but it was fun to make. Please let me know if there's some directors you would like to see me do a similar thing with, whether it's a director that has a new film coming out and you'd like me to do the same thing and go back and rate and rank their prior filmography, or if there's just a director you guys want to hear me talk about. I would probably say my favorite director, I would have to say David Fincher, but that can change any day. You know, I also love John Carpenter, Dario Argento, Brian De Palma. Lynn Shelton is a recent one that I love, and unfortunately she passed away. Let me know and let Andrew know if there's some directors you guys would like to see us rank, and we will definitely do that for you guys. Thanks again for watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy, and hit that bell to get notifications when we upload new videos. Take care, and we will see you next time.